Hey guys, what's going on? It's your boy CeeLo, not Green, and wow, this will be my first video covering Overwatch. I mean, I've been playing the game since open beta, and I can't believe I haven't made one single video talking about Overwatch. Well, I guess I kind of made like those graphic videos like a year ago, but I don't think that really counts. I'm talking about more like talking about the game, you know? I mean, at this point, we know what we're getting when we think about Overwatch. There really isn't much left to say about the game and its current state, because I feel like everybody has already said something about it being dead, it being a barren wasteland of content. But in this video, I wanted to look back, and I want to look into our hopeful future. Today, I'll be going over the timeline of Overwatch 2, where we've been and where we're going. As we continue along our little journey down the past and look into the future, I'll be creating a little timeline of what has been said and shown on screen. I'll try to keep it nice and organized by color so we can kind of get a clear look at what's really been going on throughout the last 2 years. So, without further ado, let's just jump into it. Going into BlizzCon 2019, there were a lot of rumblings about an Overwatch 2 as a sequel. Weeks before, there were leaks saying that there was going to be an announcement of the sequel to Overwatch with some sort of PvE-styled gameplay similar to Left 4 Dead. That's what a lot of people were speculating at the time. When it came for the announcement, everyone was so hyped. Papa Jeff walked up on that stage, showed us that incredible 0-hour cinematic, that Overwatch crew getting back together and finally actually progressing the lore forward after what, like 4 years of stagnation? The phrase redefine the sequel became like the mantra of Blizzard when talking about Overwatch 2 at BlizzCon. I don't think I'll be the first person to say it, but I think that really wasn't the best choice of words when announcing your new game. The way Jeff described it confused a lot of people. If you still don't get what they were trying to tell us back then, I'll try to make it a little more clear right now. So, when Overwatch 2 eventually launches, it will be 2 separate parts. One will be the PvE modes, including that story mode and the hero missions, which is that like Left 4 Dead style game mode with PvE enemies. And the second part is the PvP mode that we have now. The PvE will be paid content, while the PvP will be a free upgrade once it launches. If you already own Overwatch now, you won't have to pay to get the new PvP content, only the new PvE stuff. Basically, Overwatch 1 as we know it will vanish as soon as Overwatch 2 launches and will be replaced with all the new Overwatch 2 bells and whistles, like new graphics, new UI, new maps and game modes, and new heroes. All of that will be available to you regardless if you buy the PvE or not. However, if you want any of those cool new redesigns, you'll have to unlock them by buying the PvE. Got a little bonus. Just from you, Papa. After BlizzCon 2019, people were getting antsy. There was no release date set at all or anything like that. A few months passed with little to no word from Blizzard until around March of 2020. Jeff Kaplan came out and said that we'd be getting a new hero, Echo. Echo had been teased for a few years dating back to the McCree cinematic at BlizzCon 2018, and she became an instant fan favorite. After she made her appearance at the 2019 BlizzCon cinematic, people were clamoring for her to be released as a playable hero. Jeff also announced that she would end up being the last new hero before Overwatch 2 comes out. She'd be the perfect way to tide the fanbase over. I mean, we had 8 tanks, 16 DPS, and 7 supports. I mean, what's the obvious choice here? She'd be the perfect way to balance out the roster to 8 supports while we wait for Overwatch 2. Wait, what? She's a DPS? Oh no. Anyway, with Echo being the last hero until the sequel seemed fine. I mean, after only getting Baptiste and Sigma in 2019 and Echo early in the year after receiving 3 heroes a year before, I mean, it seemed like a fine trade-off. Little did we know what would be in store. We all know how 2020 went. I mean, there was as much new content in the game as there was toilet paper on the shelves. That's not to say there was nothing. 2020 saw the release of the most balanced patches in a calendar year to date for the game. We got a patch almost every 2 weeks to a month all year, as well as having a number of quality of life additions in the game. All of it felt like a precursor to the sequel being released. The frequent patching and balancing had a few highlights, including Genji's only time in the spotlight in the last 3 years, and the team taking major looks into why Double Shield was so strong by addressing both Sigma and Orisa's shields and cooldowns. Now, I gotta address the elephant in the room. The global pandemic ended up hitting the Overwatch team pretty hard. Jeff Kaplan said that the progress was moving forward without any major hitches, as the team had to work remotely from home for the majority of the year after March, instead of in the offices at Irvine. Along with working from home, it was announced in the summer that the annual BlizzCon event would be canceled. Not 100% though. They said that they would be having an online event early in 2021 to show off the progress on all their major titles. While it didn't exactly say it, any hopes of a 2020 Overwatch 2 release were quickly squashed. If there was going to be an announcement of a release date, it would be at that online event. And that was it. Yeah, that was literally all the news for Overwatch 2 that happened in 2020. 2020 came to a close and the future for 2021 was looking so bright. Many people thought when BlizzConline, the online replacement for BlizzCon, would roll around, there would be a huge drop of Overwatch 2 news. When BlizzConline did come around in February, there was plenty of news, answers, and even more uncertainty. As the opening ceremony to this BlizzConline came to an end, many people were left wondering, where is Overwatch 2? Not a single mention of your biggest new game coming out soon? On your opening event? People were worried until they went to the Overwatch 2 specific channel after the opening event closed and were treated to 45 minutes of brain-stimulating news. There was a whole behind-the-scenes panel that dove into the development of the game. They went over the PvP changes like role passives that gave each role a unique extra bonus to help them in-game, such as supports having regenerating health, DPS moving faster, and tanks receiving less knockback from CC abilities, as well as not giving as much ult charge when shot. Totally revamping the audio in the game to give it a more realistic and satisfying gunplay, new camera effects, new reverb in specific areas for specific guns. Every detail was being looked at from the ground up to give players a new and satisfying game feel. They touched on more about the new redesigns of Widowmaker, Reaper, Pharah, and McCree. They showed off gameplay of Sojourn, the first new look at a new hero in almost a year. And the biggest news of all was on the updates on the PvE. What was once a glorified archive event began to look like a fully fledged new game. While it was still a little rough around the edges, the progress made on PvE was far more than most were expecting. New enemy types, new interactions with the enemies, and no skill trees? What is this, Borderlands? The fans were at an all-time high seeing the progress made on the game. However, it did end on a little bit of a sour note. No release date or release window. Jeff Kaplan did say that the team would be a little bit more communicative with the players after BlizzConline, which got people happy, but it still gave people doubts. Acknowledging the fact that communication was on the way was nice. He even teased a new update in the coming months. Before he could give us that update, Jeff Kaplan left Blizzard. The man who was more of the face of the game than the girl on the cover was gone. He left a few sentences and then went dark, and we haven't heard from him since. A truly dark day in the Overwatch community. In his place, a new leader stepped up, and that man was Aaron Keller. Aaron had been working on the game since it was still Project Titan, so he knew what was going on and what the vision of the game still was. However, people took Kaplan's departure as a sign of something going horribly wrong inside the Overwatch team. The man who led the franchise, announced the new game on stage, and was the face of the game, was now leaving before there was even a release window. People felt like something was up after Jeff Kaplan left, and little did we know at the time what that was. After Jeff left, the first real event that Aaron Keller had to be the new face of the game was the PvP livestream in May of 2021. The livestream was hosted by Mr. X from the Overwatch League, and had a few developers on to drop some major news. Overwatch was going to be a 5v5 PvP game. There was only going to be one tank now in your games. This was something people speculated on when the BlizzConline event happened. When gameplay was shown, there was no more than one tank per team on the screen at a time, so people's speculations were 100% confirmed. The role of main tank and off tank were now gone, now occupying a single slot. Tanks are going to be heavily reworked, as showed at BlizzConline as well, showing some of Reinhardt's reworks like having 2 fire strikes and being able to both steer and pin more accurately, while being able to cancel it at any time. This was a very divisive change. Many people liked it as it would further change up the gameplay for the sequel and reduce the queue times overall, with having the least popular role being shrunk down to one person. However, many people hated this idea with a passion. They blamed Blizzard for not being able to balance their game correctly, which made the 5v5 change look like a white flag saying, "We give up, we can't balance this game." People also said they were trying to fix a problem they artificially made themselves. I mean, the lack of tank heroes in the game already made tanks not fun for people, and the amount of CC in the game made playing the few tanks we had even less fun. In the PvP, they also showed off a ton of new gameplay, of some of the new maps like New York and Monte Carlo, Rome, and Toronto, the latter two being maps for the new push game mode being added to Overwatch 2. Many people were upset with the fact that the game was played by developers, that weren't very good at the game, so seeing the game made it look sloppy and far more like a deathmatch game mode rather than the Overwatch we've been playing for the last 6 years. It was both too similar and too different for many people, which made a perfect recipe for mauling Redditors to lose their minds. This was maybe one of the most divisive moments in Overwatch to date. However, it was nice to see an update on the philosophy of the developers. They said they wanted to reduce the amount of CC in the game and give it more to tanks so they aren't getting absolutely rocked by DPS and support stuns and boops. It was the info dump to end all info dumps. After this live stream, many people thought we would continue to get a stream of updates as the year went on. And boy, we sure did. While I don't want to dive too deep into the Activision Blizzard lawsuit in this video, I need to bring it up because it's a major factor in the development and timeline of Overwatch 2, as well as there being a ton of other videos that go over this topic far better than I ever could. The spark notes is that a lot of people in Blizzard were horrible people. As July continued to move forward, the Q2 2021 investors call happened very shortly after the bombshell lawsuit happened. Within that presentation, the only bit of news we heard about Overwatch 2 after almost 3 months of literally nothing was that the team hit a, quote, major internal milestone. There were many speculations about what this meant, especially after a leak from inside the company said that the Overwatch team was told to, quote, fix it and ship it. The thought across the community was that the game was being rushed. However, I think that the game was being feature locked at that time, meaning that they needed to stop adding anything new to the game and just get what they have done and polish it up for an upcoming release. I believe that many people in the Overwatch League, like the owners and the investors, were tired of waiting for them to release the game. You can keep adding new things to a game in development for infinity, but if you spend all that time adding things and not delivering an actual product, your window of opportunity will quickly pass you by. This news of the important internal milestone was further speculated on when it was announced in early September that the new season of the Overwatch League will be played on an early build of Overwatch 2. 5v5, new hero reworks, new maps, modes, and, as Aaron Keller said, maybe even a few new heroes. This boosted the hype in the Overwatch community again. It set a solid date for when the game was going to be playable in any capacity, whether the public had its hands on it or not. The game would be ready to be played at a pro level in less than half a year. After hearing nothing on the news front from the Blizzard team since that PvP livestream in May, a confirmation was taken as good news. During that same Grand Finals event where Aaron Keller announced that there might be new heroes, major reworks to Bastion and Sombra were shown off as well. Tying up some of the Overwatch 2 loose ends throughout the year, there was also a couple of redesigns that were shown off in 2021. Torbjorn redesign was shown off at the PvP livestream, and then in June at the Summer Games Fest, Aaron Keller awkwardly showed up next to Jeff Keighley and said, "Hey guys, our game's 5v5. Also, here's Bap and Sombra's redesigns." Granted, these were like two of the best redesigns shown off so far. There's nothing more awkward than that announcement. Uncle Aaron handled that like a champ though. Bastion's redesign was also shown off at the Grand Finals event when they announced his rework along with Sombra's rework as well. A smaller yet unbelievably controversial move was made in October of 2021. After news that a developer in Blizzard named Jesse McCree was part of a serious sexual scandal, the Overwatch team wanted to change the name of the hero Jesse McCree to Cole Cassidy. Wait, hold on, let me... For a few years dating back to the Cassidy cinematic.
Let's try that again.
Redesigns of Widowmaker, Reaper, Pharah, and Cassidy. This move got everyone riled up. This was the first headline that Overwatch had in years, and it was about the name of a hero in a game that a lot of people who had opinions about it hadn't even played in years. They saw it more as a move by Blizzard to make up for their heinous actions and looked like a PR stunt gone wrong. However, if you look deeper into it, it was a decision made by the Overwatch dev team themselves to try and make a small difference in the company they work for. The developers don't even have that much of a say when it comes to big corporate decisions, so they wanted to try to do something to make some kind of difference. However, people still troll any mention of Cassidy's new name, despite almost any real player of the game either being indifferent towards it or embracing the small change developers made to better the company they work for. In November, the Activision Blizzard earnings call for Q3 of 2021 also happened, and this brought some troubling news. In the call, the people at Activision Blizzard said that both Diablo 4 and Overwatch 2 were going to launch further in the future than they had previously thought. That was the final straw for a lot of people. It was almost assumed that an early to mid 2022 release was in the cards, after confirming that Overwatch League was going to play in Overwatch 2 in April, but this confirmed for the first time publicly that the game was being delayed, despite not even having a launch date. This is where the community absolutely lost their collective minds. There weren't enough videos and posts about how Overwatch is a dead game. This was the final nail in the coffin. After not releasing in 2020, 2021, and now 2022 seeming to be out of the picture, People who were waiting seemed to have enough. A new Overwatch community manager, Andy B, had said that a 2023 release was not even confirmed, meaning that a very late 2022 launch is still possible, but that was still almost an entire year's more wait with no meaningful content being added to the game. While a few deathmatch maps like Kanezaka and Malavento were added to the admittedly small pool of deathmatch maps, it just wasn't the same thing as getting a new core game mode map or a new hero. The last hero was Echo almost 2 years ago when this call happened, and the last new map was Havana in 2019, almost 3 years ago. They even removed maps from the game after saying they were going to fix them, so we actively lost content in the process. I don't think they're going to be missed very much at all, but the fact still remains. We had a Sahara Desert level of meaningful content updates. The mood going into 2022 was not going to be a good one. However, in the final hour of the year, after increased communication with the Overwatch content creators, some good news and hope started to blossom. Overwatch content creators had begun to receive more engagement from the dev team themselves. The dev team had monthly Discord calls with the content creators, asking them how they felt about the game, what they thought should be changed, and other topics relating to Overwatch and its creators. In December's call, however, there was a major change in attitude. Apparently, all the major devs like Aaron Keller, Jeff Goodman were on that call and discussed the upcoming content for Overwatch 2. The content creators were all under an NDA, however, this did not stop them from absolutely losing their minds on Twitter moments after the call ended. Since the call, people who were in it has said that nothing specifically concrete was shown, like specific dates or new heroes or whatever was in store, but instead we're basically told like a roadmap of what's coming for 2022. Like maybe they said that there was a confirmed open or closed beta coming in the next few months, or that Overwatch League will start with a certain number of new heroes, etc, etc. Whatever they were told, it was enough to have them have an immediate turnaround with the game and how they perceived it. And now here we are, in early 2022. At the time of making this video, it's mid-January and nothing concrete has been said regarding Overwatch 2 since September. The only thing we can wait for now is the next quarterly investors call, which should be in the first couple weeks of February. Previous Q4 calls have been made in early February, so the next drop in news will either come from that call or from the Overwatch team themselves very near that call. We don't have much longer to wait for something. The April start of Overwatch League is quickly approaching, and they're running out of time to announce anything beforehand. I think the next few months will be a very exciting build-up to the game that we've all been waiting for. And that's it. Wow, this video took a while to make, so if you're still here, thank you so much for watching all the way through. So if you like what you saw, please drop a comment, drop a like, subscribe if you want to. I'd really appreciate it, and I'll see you in Overwatch 2.